Okay, so here's the deal. Sejun Park's 2014 Pokemon World Championship Finals match is probably the most famous VGC match of all time. VGC being the official format for competitive Pokemon hosted by the Pokemon Company. And I realized that I've never really watched this match like on stream or on YouTube. I've never reviewed it or anything. And I thought it could be really interesting for me to sit down and kind of give my thoughts and kind of give some perspective and some commentary on the match and the overall scene as well. So here we are. So I guess for those of you who don't know, most of you probably know, my name is Wolfe Glick. It is my real name. Thank you for asking. I'm the 2016 Pokemon World Champion. So I won the World Championships 2 years after Sejun did. And I knew Sejun actually 2 years before this. We met at the 2012 World Championships where we played twice actually. One time in Swiss, and one time in Top Cut. Both of which were really good games. He won the one in Swiss, I won the one in Top Cut, and I moved on to Top 4. So I realized that this, like I said, this match is extremely famous within I would say the general gaming community. If someone's going to know one match of competitive Pokemon, it's probably this one, realistically. I would be like, almost everybody who knows about competitive Pokemon is like, oh yeah, that one time that Pachirisu won Worlds, right? It's a very famous match. But there's a lot of kind of subtext here and a lot of things that I think are really interesting that don't get talked about as much. So the first thing, I'm not going to watch this whole video. I'm only going to watch the battle. But first thing to note is that this match is being commentated by Scott Glaza and Evan Lott, who are the pioneers of VGC commentary. These were the original commentators when we had, like, technically there was a stream in 2012 at Worlds, but it was done by people who did not know anything about competitive Pokemon or knew extremely little. Evan and Scott were both community members and are still widely respected in the community, and were some of the founders behind Nugget Bridge, which was the community's main website before Twitter kind of took over. So having these two commentate, I think probably the most iconic match of all time, is very fitting. Now let's talk a little bit about the players. So the first person that we have to talk about here is Jeudy Azzarelli. So Jeudy is actually a Smash player now. I'm sure he still dabbles in VGC. Really nice guy. Jeudy. So let's talk about Jeudy first. So why does it say 7th place 2014 Worlds? Isn't this 2014 Worlds? Am I an idiot? 2nd place Apex 2014. Yeah. So I believe. Did Jeudy play Aaron in finals, or was that a different year? I don't remember. But yeah, so basically Jeudy was, I think at the time he was a relatively newer player. I think that's what Worlds there is supposed to be Nationals, not Worlds. But yeah, Jeudy, I believe at the time was a relatively newer player to the scene. And he was part of a group that was, I don't know how to pronounce their name, and it's in a different language, so just to be sure I'm not going to pronounce it. But he was part of a group with Angel Miranda, who many of you guys probably don't know. Sapphire Birch was his handle at the time. I think now he just goes by Angel. Really nice guy, and another very widely respected player. He was back in the day, and probably still today. I don't know how active he is, but he's widely respected as a very good team builder. So Jeudy was with Angel and all these other guys, and they were part of this group, and they made it to the finals of Worlds. I remember something that was interesting about this team is that it had Choice Scarf Tyranitar with Ice Punch. So actually this year I was 9th. If my resistance was just a little bit better, I would have Top Cut, but I missed Top Cut on a couple points of resistance. And yeah, like I said, Jody's team was really cool. So it had Lucario, which I believe was Mega actually. So Lucario was interesting here because the main Megas of this format, originally it was Kangaskhan. So that's kind of the first thing to note when we're talking about Jody's team, was that Kangaskhan was the real driving force of this metagame for a lot of it. People would pair Kangaskhan with Salamence and Amoonguss and Garchomp and Tyranitar, but this is back when Amoonguss could Rage Powder and Kangaskhan would use go for Power Up Punch and boosted its attack by 2 stages. So on top of the already big power that Kangaskhan put out, for those of you who don't know, Parental Bond was nerfed in Generation 7, but Generation 6 and before, Generation 6, it was not nerfed, and so it was a 1.5 times boost to all its attacks, so Kangaskhan and Amoonguss was really threatening, Sucker Punch was threatening, the metagame was not that bulky as I recall. There was some bulky stuff, but a lot of frail Pokemon like Talonflame, and it got fighting coverage for Tyranitar, and normal stab was strong, and priority was strong with Fake Out and Sucker Punch. It was a very strong Pokemon. In order to combat that, the main story of Worlds, even though it doesn't show up in the final, was Mega Mawile. So Mega Mawile started taking off. Sejun actually won Nationals this year, with Mega Mawile on a rain team, or am I being crazy? It was Palutena Ludicolo, Aegislash, Hydreigon. I don't remember the last two. Maybe he didn't use Mega Mawile, but Mega Mawile was huge. Marcus Stodter actually was the... Oh, I butchered that. I'm sorry, Marcus. It's really hard. I'm sorry, I have no excuse. I've been like one of my best friends for like 7 years, I should say it properly. But anyway, so Marcus was actually the highest placing Kangaskhan, Mega Kangaskhan at this tournament, as I recall, and I think he was 14th this year. Anyway, so Jeudy Azzarelli here has a really cool team. He doesn't have Kangaskhan, it doesn't have Mawile. Mawile was very popular this tournament, but it didn't make finals. So instead, his Mega Pokemon are Charizard Y, which was a bit of a weird call on paper. Because Politoed was pretty big. Rain, Agloza won Nationals this year with Rain. And Mega Lucario was the second one. So I believe the way this team worked was you'd use Charizard if the opponent didn't have good answers for it. So like, for example, they didn't have Politoed, and maybe if they didn't have Tyranitar, because it's a very powerful Pokemon. And if they did have answers for it, you could go Lucario as a secondary Mega. So it had Dual Mega, which at the time was really creative. Dual Mega was not used that much back in the day. And... or maybe it was. I don't remember. I don't remember Dual Mega being used especially a lot. And then it had other strong Pokemon. So it had Ice Punch Tyranitar, which was only legal through a Japanese event, so a lot of players didn't have access to it, but Jeudy was able to get one, which is cool. And then he had Garchomp, which is obviously a solid Pokemon, and then Salamence as well. But the interesting thing here, the last interesting Pokemon is Rotom Cut, who had almost no usage throughout the season. So that's a bit on his backstory, right? Now we have Sejun, right? Sejun is the 3-time national champion of Korea. I think he won in 11, 12, and 14, if I recall correctly, but maybe he won in 13 as well. At the time, he was the 3-time Korean national champion. So Sejun it's kind of hard to describe like how incredible this guy is, right? When it comes to, well, a lot of things, but especially Pokemon, especially video games in general. So just some extra context here. Sejun he won nationals, right? He is a national champion 3 times, right? Then, after he won the world championship, spoilers, he wins with Pachirisu, he goes on to compete in TCG. He qualified for the world championships. I can't remember if he won Korean nationals in TCG. I was trying to look it up. I'm not sure. And as if that weren't enough, he's also currently power ranked in Korea. I think he's in the top 10. I want to say he's 6th or 8th, but I'm not positive. But yeah, and that's not even talking about VGC. We're talking about other games than the one he's a world champion in. So, let's talk about Sejun and VGC. His first tournament, to my knowledge, could be 2010, but I believe it's 2011. He finishes 2nd. He's one of, I believe, 2 players to get both 2nd and 1st place at the World Championships. I could be wrong, but I think that's correct. He gets 2nd in 2011 in the senior division. He then, in 2012, moves up to the Masters division and gets top 8, being eliminated by me. He then top cuts again for the 3rd consecutive year in 2013 and gets top 8 again. You can see 2013, 5th place. I think he might have been the number 1 seed, but I'm not positive. Then in 2014, he top cuts for the 4th consecutive year. So he has come very close 3 times before this. He has gotten 2nd and then 2 top cuts. And the thing is, once you top cut, there's 3 opponents in your way, and then you're world champion. So, at least back in the day when we had top 8 cuts, it's a little different now, but you get what I'm saying, right? So, he's come very, very close, right? And this year he's in the finals with a bizarre team. He's got Gardevoir, who's not Mega, but is Scarf. He's got Talonflame, which is something weird, I don't remember. He's got Garchomp, standard Pokemon, but then things get interesting. So, Gothitelle picked up a lot this tournament. Gothitelle Mawile was a very popular core. I used it myself in this tournament. But instead of pairing it with Mawile, he's actually gone with Mega Gyarados, which is a Pokemon that nobody ever talks about. I bet if I asked most people, they wouldn't remember that this thing won Worlds, but his Mega Pokemon is Gyarados for some reason. Not for some reason disrespecting Sejun, but like from somebody who was watching this for the first time, they'd be like, why does he have Mega Gyarados? And then he has Pachirisu. So a lot of the story that was told about this finals is about Pachirisu, right? It's about Sejun used his favorite Pokemon. I actually don't think Pachirisu is his favorite Pokemon, but, he used this creative Pokemon, and he won Worlds with it, etc., right? Pachirisu wasn't used very much. It was used probably close to about as much as Rotom Cut. Like, it wasn't that much of a weirder pick than Mega Gyarados, I would say, or maybe Scarf Gardevoir. But because the thing is that it got Follow Me, and this was a format with redirection, with a Moongus, and so it wasn't a crazy, in my opinion, it was not a crazy pick looking back. Like, Marcus and I knew about Pachirisu. We didn't think it was like good enough to use. Obviously, we were wrong. But yeah, it wasn't like as off the wall as probably I think somebody looking in probably would have guessed. But yeah, like for me, the interesting, like the storyline going into this final, what I thought it would be is that Sejun has come so close 3 times. He's proved he's an incredible player. He's a 3-time national champion. And, you know, he's top cut worlds 3 times. He's got second. He's got 2 top 8s in the Masters division. And now he's in the finals again. So he can go home as the winner. You know, he can go home as the world champion, or he could have gotten second place twice, which would really stink. So that's what I thought the storyline would be. Instead, what ended up happening is this all becomes about Pachirisu. We've got an interview with Arash Amadi, previous year's world champion, and then let's just go into the battle. So, yeah.
If Jeudy has just started getting hot at nationals and he's carried it through to worlds,
yeah, I think that confirms that it should have been Jeudy should have been. They should have been talking about top 8 nationals, not worlds.
World Championship.
I think that's
the senior division either, but Sejun did get the second place trophy that time. So we'll have to see here if Sejun will be able to do what he could.
You see the crowd is packed here as well. I was in the crowd for this. I watched this live.
All right, we are jumping right into team preview. On your screen, you're seeing Sejun Park.
Jody's obviously from America. Korea's Sejun's from Korea, South Korea. So I'm actually curious if the narrative that the commentators talk about, Scott and Evan, I'm gonna turn it down just a little bit. Yeah, it looks like, okay, it looks like even at the time the narrative was about Pachirisu. I like this guy dancing. I wonder who they are. I see signs in the crowd, can't really read them. I wonder if I can see me. Probably not. It's too hard to see.
Players getting into it quickly here. I think
Jody's wearing the American flag.
The last time he was on stream is likely going to be a big deal here.
The body language is interesting. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but like Jeudy is like really he's really moving, he's really hyped up, and Sejun looks like locked in. Not that either is wrong. I think both work for depending on the player, but yeah. So Garchomp and Gardevoir are the leads here. Versus Tyranitar and Charizard. So immediately Sejun knows that Jeudy does not have Mega Lucario. The Gardevoir Scarf, as is the Tyranitar, I think. It's not Trace, it's Telepathy. That's right, I remember this. So, looking at this situation, sorry guys, I'm going to be pausing throughout, but looking at this situation, if you're Sejun, you have options, right? I don't remember the items on the Garchomp, so that's going to be kind of crucial here. It's probably Yachi Berry. But the thing is, this feels kind of like a mind game, right? Because Sejun can go for Earthquake, or he can go for Moonblast, or he can go for Rock Slide, right? If he Rock Slides, he gets to take out Charizard back. It's holding the Mega Crystal, so it can't hold another item. So he knows that he can probably one-shot the Charizard. And if he, let's assume he survives an Ice Punch. Let's say he's Yachi Berry. Let's say he goes for Rock Slide and Moonblast here on Tyranitar, and Charizard does not protect itself, then he's in pretty good shape. Actually, that play feels pretty safe, because assuming he takes an Ice Punch, then he can just Moonblast again the next turn because his Gardevoir outspeeds Tyranitar. So Gardevoir being Scarf here is actually really nice. He could also predict a switch. We know that Jeudy has Garchomp on his team, so it seems like it could come in here, but the offensive pressure that Sejun's putting out between both Gardevoir and Garchomp, like they really cover each other well, with Garchomp hitting the Steel types with ground moves, and Gardevoir hitting the Dragon types with Moonblast. So, yeah. So this feels like a very strong lead from Sejun, in my opinion. But again, it depends on if his it depends a lot on if his Garchomp can survive an Ice Punch, because if it can't, things get a little more interesting, right? Because that means that Jeudy actually has a safe move of Ice Punch into the Garchomp and maybe use Flamethrower into Gardevoir, or like a Fire move, Overheat, Heat Wave to try and KO it. The other thing to note, last thing. The other thing to note is that assuming that Charizard Mega Evolves, it will actually overwrite Tyranitar's Sand Boost, which is bad here because Moonblast will do more damage.
From Jeudy leads both of his potential weather setters here up against that
Evan's talking about that.
The Garchomp.
Yeah, this is definitely one matchup that will come down to a weather war. Jody's probably going to have a preference between which one of the two he wants up, but without a competing weather here, he can afford to be a little bit more careful. Or he's a little bit less careful. Yeah. What he does need to be careful about is
Charizard goes for Protect, no Mega Evolution.
Here, especially with a couple choice Pokemon
so,
really
let's see. Moonblast comes out, that makes sense. There's really no reason for Sejun to do anything differently than that. I agree with Jody's play. 178 all the way down to 74. It's a 2-hit KO. Stone Edge comes out, okay.
But it is going to fire back with a Stone Edge.
Yeah,
okay.
Okay, so we'll finish the turn.
Rock Slide from Garchomp is going to be avoided by Charizard thanks to that Protect. Deal a little bit of damage to that Tyranitar, enough to put it into Moonblast KO range. Sandstorm,
it looks so different back in the day. Amazing play by Sejun. Like I said, there's no drawback to that play. Jeudy, I think, doesn't realize. Jody's probably made a game plan, right? He's had the night to prepare. He's gone to the finals. He's probably thinking, if I hit Stone Edge, Gardevoir will faint, and then I can win, and then like I can go from there, right? But he doesn't realize that Sejun has a bit of, like, I think a small bit of defensive investment on his Scarf Gardevoir, so it barely hangs on between Stone Edge and Sand. A risky play from Jeudy, but he did kind of get, like, his leads were not amazing here. Based on how Sejun's playing that Garchomp, I'm assuming it could take an Ice Punch. I'm assuming it has Yachi or Sash or something. But yeah, so Sejun makes the perfect play. Like I said, there's really not much that Jeudy can do about it, and I don't think Jody's play is bad. I think if he gets that Stone Edge knockout, he's not in terrible shape. But because he misses it just barely, he now really is kind of forced to just Charizard out. Because if he stays in, he can't Mega Evolve. Because if he does Mega Evolve, he will overwrite the Sand, and Gardevoir will hang on. So he has to try and switch Charizard out. Let me think about this. Jeudy, I think, has to switch Charizard out and hope he doesn't take too much damage from whatever Sejun goes for, and then trade, and then go from there. Basically, trying to trade Tyranitar for Gardevoir. But Sejun could read this because he kind of has no reason not to Moonblast into. Yeah, actually, he could Moonblast an Earthquake into Charizard here because the play is so obvious. I think I'd definitely rather be in Sejun's position than Jody's right now. Let's see what he goes for, though.
One of the two of them take a risk. This is going to be a matchup where they both have a lot of very offensive Pokemon, and there's going to be a lot of high-risk maneuvers.
That's good analysis. Charizard switches out. Okay, so
not expecting it is probably going to come out with the win here.
Interesting. All right, so Jeudy switches into Rotom, doubling out. Okay, so he wants to reset the position. Mence. Okay. So if Sejun reads this and Moonblast the Gardevoir, or actually Moonblast is going to do so much damage regardless. Let's see what it goes into. Moonblast comes out. Does he read it? There's no reason to take a risk there. I agree with that. He has no reason to take that risk. And he actually Dragon Claws. Ooh.
Is going to be used on that Salamence. The berry is going to help and deal just a very
okay, so I really like that play from Sejun.
Little bit amount of damage there thanks to that Havenberry. And the stand is
I feel like Jeudy did what he had to do. There was not really a better play. He just got outled, frankly.
Choosing to make a sacrifice there. Likely he expected that to.
All right, so let's talk about what happened there. Sejun goes for a Moonblast into the Tyranitar slot. It's safe. He has no reason not to. He knows that nothing on Jody's team really wants to switch into that because his only Fairy Resist is Charizard, who's currently on the field. So he knows that he's going to get a guaranteed Moonblast off on something. Either he gets a KO on Charizard, which is good for him, or he hits something for a lot of damage, right? Either whether it's Garchomp or Rotom Cut or Mence, he knows that because we know it's probably not Lucario, but even Lucario would take a ton. It's good damage output. And he also knows that Charizard's very likely switching out here. Very, very likely switching out. And so he figures, well, even if Charizard stays in, it would have to Mega Evolve and let my Gardevoir survive. So I'm kind of safe to Dragon Claw. It will still do good damage anyway. He might have even expected Mence to switch in for Charizard, for Tyranitar instead. Sack Mence to try and get an attack off with Charizard, but yeah, overall, really safe play from Sejun, and it was a safe read to make. The downside was not that high, and it pays off really well. It's not even like Jeudy could have switched in the reverse order. Citra's helping a lot here.
Jeudy in a little better board position there with higher health.
So Sejun has lost a Mon. Jody's gotten chipped on a couple Pokemon, and Garchomp's looking like a problem, but he does still have Tyranitar in the back, which can prevent it. Salamence would be feeling better most likely if it still had the Havenberry. It looks like it's going to be close whether or not it. Excuse me, takes another one.
I think that letting it go so
Sejun's taking his time. He's not in a rush. This is back in the day when we had 15-minute timer, so he doesn't have to keep that somewhat in mind. But yeah, with Tyranitar so low and with Garchomp looking so threatening, let's see who this is. It is Pachirisu, so he brings Pachirisu in the back, actually. Crowd's cheering. All right, I clearly remember things wrong. Pachirisu was the story the whole time. So, Pachirisu is good there. It protects Garchomp. I think Sejun has realized that Garchomp kind of beats all four of these Pokemon that Jeudy has left. But the thing is, Garchomp's intimidated, so it's not doing as much damage as Sejun needs here. It can't do that much to Rotom. Salamence switches out, probably into the Charizard, maybe even Tyranitar. Yeah, Tyranitar comes back in here. He wants to reset Intimidate. Follow Me comes out. No protects. Garchomp's going to move next. Rock Slide. Misses Tyranitar. I wonder why. Actually, I like that. I like that move. Does he get the flinch? No. Okay, so Sejun went for all flinch turns. Does a lot of damage. Does a lot of damage.
And eats its Citrus Berry to heal right back up while Rotom has lost a lot
we'll finish the turn.
Attack and a lot of offensive power from it.
Yeah, it's impressive how bulky that little Pachirisu is.
Oh, I had the opposite effect. I thought Pachirisu wasn't very bulky. Anyway, that turn, why does Sejun go for Rock Slide? Most likely, he feels that another Dragon Claw is not going to KO the Salamence. He's probably correct. There, I would agree that another Dragon Claw is probably not going to KO. So he figures, if I'm going to have to Dragon Claw again anyway, I may as well go for a Rock Slide. Gives me a chance of flinching on both. We'll put Salamence in range of another Dragon Claw. And yeah, the chance of flinching is good, and it gets a little more chip on the Rotom, who's kind of feels like Garchomp's biggest opponent, problem right now. So this next turn is tough.
There is a little tiny squirrel thing. You don't really expect it to be very bulky, but it takes almost
Sejun really wants that Tyranitar gone because it's the only thing that outspeeds his Garchomp. But I don't know if another Dragon Claw will get it. It probably will, but maybe not if Sejun has to be worried about Rotom switching out here. The other question is, if you're Jeudy, do you go for Ice Punch or do you go for Stone Edge into Pachirisu? And Sejun has the ability to call that with Protect on either Pokemon. Pachirisu, Garchomp goes for Protect. Alright, interesting. Let's see what Jeudy goes for. Ice Punch, okay, good Protect. And Nuzzle comes out, paralyzing Tyranitar, so that's a really big play. That was a huge play. Will-O-Wisp comes out, both into, okay. So, Jeudy made a call there, and it wasn't a bad call. Well, I'll finish the turn.
Coming out from Sejun, blocking both the Ice Punch and the Will-O-Wisp, and getting the...
That was not a bad play at all, in my opinion. Jeudy realizes, okay, so my Rotom was -2. The obvious play for Jeudy is to Ice Punch or Crunch or Stone Edge into the Pachirisu and Leaf Storm, take it out. He can then be up 4-2. The Intimidates are permanent, and he can bring Salamence back in, get another Intimidate off if this Tyranitar goes down, and he can go for a Will-O-Wisp into the Garchomp and kind of win the game from there, right? With the Intimidates and the Burn, he can almost certainly win the game, depending on what Sejun's last Pokemon is. And also, Jeudy knows that Sejun wants his Tyranitar gone, so he knows that there's a pretty good chance that Sejun most likely will go for Protect and Earthquake just to try and take out the Tyranitar, because again, if Jeudy doubles that slot, or even if he makes like a 50-50, like he goes for like Stone Edge into Pachirisu or maybe Crunch, and Will-O-Wisp Garchomp to try and cover both options, then Protect Earthquake is still not a terrible play, but Sejun knows that and actually goes for Protect and Nuzzle and calls Jeudy perfectly, because Jody's reaction to thinking that Sejun is going to protect Pachirisu is to double Garchomp. Sejun realizes this quickly. You can see he locked into his move quickly there. He knew immediately what he wanted to do, and he does the opposite. He says, I know that you know that I want to protect my Pachirisu and attack with Garchomp, so I'm going to flip that. I'm going to protect my Garchomp and attack with Pachirisu instead. And it nets him a lot here. Even though the paralysis, it doesn't KO Tyranitar or anything, but it changes the dynamic of this whole thing.
On that Scarf Tyranitar.
Yeah, excellent play there. He probably noticed the Cherish Ball previously, knowing that the Tyranitar is from that promotion.
I wonder if he goes for Dragon Claw and Follow Me to try and get the KO on Tyranitar, or if he goes for Rock Slide to try and get the flinch. Garchomp's not that strong after an Intimidate. It's actually, yeah. Also, can we talk about how they have this, the thing is covering the screen? Let's see here. Pachirisu, the obvious player is Follow Me and Dragon Claw. You get good damage off regardless. Follow Me comes out. Let's see if he goes for Dragon Claw. I do not think Rock Slide will KO, but it could flinch, so it's not a bad play anyway. He goes for Dragon Claw. I agree with that. Oh, into Rotom. Oh. Will-O-Wisp comes out. It does connect. This is buffed Will-O-Wisp? Can't remember. See if he gets paralyzed. It does not. Ice Punch comes out into Pachirisu. Okay, so Sejun there knows sand is gone. Okay, that sand being gone is kind of a problem. Not gonna lie. Okay, so I really like that Dragon Claw there. First of all, Sejun switching Tyranitar out into Salamence or something is really obvious. He also knows that the biggest threat to his Garchomp is this Rotom, right? We already talked about how Tyranitar is now paralyzed, and Salamence is in range of an unintimidated Dragon Claw. Charizard is in range of an unintimidated Rock Slide. Tyranitar is in range of a Dragon Claw or Earthquake. So really the last Pokemon that Sejun has to beat down is this Rotom. So instead of taking the easy KO on Tyranitar and letting Jeudy go back into Salamence, he says, I know you're locked into Ice Punch. I know that can't KO me. Let me put your Rotom in my Dragon Claw range, and then we'll go from there.
Little chip damage.
Yeah, Pachirisu
now if you're Jeudy, you have to make a choice here. Do you predict? So obviously Sejun wants to take out your Tyranitar this turn. Do you predict that and switch out maybe? Do you expect him to go for Rock Slide? And do you Will-O-Wisp here, or do you Leaf Storm? Because you could Will-O-Wisp if you think Pachirisu is going to go for a Nuzzle reading the Tyranitar switch out, or something else. It does kind of feel like Pachirisu has no downside to going for Follow Me, though, so I think Leaf Storm is probably your best bet if you're Jeudy. I really like the way that Sejun's positioning. Like, he's keeping his end game in mind here. He switches out Garchomp. I can dig it.
Not necessarily just on Pokemon score.
goes into Talonflame and protects Pachirisu. Okay. So this is a safe switch. I didn't expect him to have Talonflame in the back there. I thought it was going to be Gyarados for sure. So this is a safe switch here because, well, not safe-ish. So Sejun knows that Jeudy's not going to be using Thunderbolt, right? He knows that he's either going to go for Will-O-Wisp or Leaf Storm into Pachirisu to try and take it out, or Will-O-Wisp into Garchomp to read and protect on Pachirisu. What he does is he switches Talonflame in, who doesn't care about Leaf Storm, especially at -2, and can't be burned. He also knows Tyranitar is locked into Ice Punch, which is really, really important here, and protects Pachirisu to make sure that there's pretty much no way that he can get that Jeudy can take a KO here. Ice Punch comes out. Let's see if it's 2 KO. With freezes Talonflame. That's a big deal. That's a huge deal. Although I think Flare Blitz will thaw, but now that I'm saying it, I actually don't remember. No, Flare Blitz will thaw, so he's forced to Flare Blitz here. Not a huge deal, I think. I forgot there was a free in this finals. I think if you're Sejun here, you really should be considering switching your Pachirisu out, because it's kind of risky, though. Nah, I guess you just sack Pachirisu. Never mind. Like, you need to take a KO this turn on one of these Pokemon so you can set it for Talonflame, Garchomp endgame. I think probably follow me and Flare Blitz into the... Yep. Oh, Overheat. Does that guarantee thaw? Rotom goes down. Okay. But he could lose both Pokemon this turn. I forgot it was Overheat down. Was it Life Orb? Rotom's gone. Okay. Life Orb. He might die to another Ice Punch. Super Fang. Interesting. Okay. Breeding a Switch maybe. And he gets the Para. Okay. So, if Ice Punch had connected there, Sejun would have been down to his last 2 Pokemon. Wow. Actually, wait. That could have been really bad. Sejun would have been down to his last 2 Pokemon and probably needed a Rock Slide flinch on the Salamence. But yeah, that full para actually saves him, I think. It depends on if Talonflame goes down there. It looks like a roll. It also depends on if Jeudy, who was target Jeudy Ice Punch, because he could have hit Pachirisu there. Like I said, the obvious switch, like Sejun really wants to switch out his Salamence there, or his Pachirisu there to save Garchomp, or be able like let the Garchomp switch later, get another turn. I'm also really surprised he went into Charizard here instead of Salamence. That's a bit of a weird play in my opinion. I feel like you want to go Salamence to get the Intimidate down, but let's see. Jeudy obviously has a plan, so let's see what it is.
Yeah, the combination of Brave Bird and Rock Slide still can do a lot of damage to
Someone let me know if Overheat is guaranteed thaw. I didn't think it was, but I'm kind of blanking now. Sejun has so much PP.
He's going to have to cut this very, very close to come out with a win.
Of course, you have to be careful with that talent.
T-Jar switches out. Okay. A little bit of a weird switch, I guess. I think Jody's trying to get 2 Intimidates down. I think that's his plan. Keep in mind, Talonflame is at -2 as well. The only thing that I'm worried about here is that, let's see, he Mega Evolves. He's going to override his own son. I wonder why he... Yeah, I'm really curious about that. He might have Hidden Power Ice. That might be it. If he has Hidden Power Ice, that makes a little bit more sense.
Strengthen the attack of all the fire moves on the side. Of course,
Brave Bird comes out. That's telling. That might mean he doubled Charizard.
Will come out from Talonflame using that ability to make it.
Yeah, he probably doubled Charizard. Did a lot of damage. That's a strong move. Is that a crit? No, it just does that much. Rock Slide comes out. He connects, and that's gonna be it. Yeah. He reads the switch, I guess. Maybe it wasn't a read. I mean, I still don't know if he's Yachi Berry, but
pretty big deal.
Yeah, it was a safe play from Sejun because Rock Slide was going to KO Tyranitar anyway. So as long as he didn't miss a Rock Slide, he was fine. So I don't think it was that crazy of a play, but it was a good play. Don't get me wrong.
It seemed like it was so irrelevant, only doing 17 damage there. I don't know if it's actually going to end up being.
Scott's right here. Like the thing is, that Super Fang did look kind of like a wasted attack, but it might make sure that like it might make sure that -1 Brave Bird or -1 Rock Slide would KO Tyranitar. So Sejun takes game 1. He shakes this in the air. That was close, honestly. I think with the para, I don't know. Sejun, like if you're Sejun, you can't be feeling that safe after that because it was very narrow. It was very, very narrow. Like
yeah, it's going to be a really overwhelming situation.
He could have lost that, like, it was close, is all I'm trying to say. He had to make a couple hard reads. Like, he Dragon Claw, he played very well. He had to Dragon Claw the Mence on the switch in. He had to, do the big play of that game, in my opinion, is protect while Jeudy doubles into his Jeudy doubles the Garchomp as Garchomp protects and he gets a nuzzle off. That changed the rest of the game. But yeah, Sejun had to make a couple hard reads there, and it didn't look actually like that favorable matchup, despite how strong Gardevoir was. Because Jeudy was so smart with, and that Happen-Berry bulking Mence, which looks like it's 3-hit KO'd by Garchomp, that makes a big deal here, because Sejun, his team doesn't have that much offense. He has, I mean, Pachirisu and Gothitelle just don't have that much offense in general, so Talonflame's doing more damage than I remember, but Gardevoir isn't the most powerful Pokemon. It didn't even know Tyranitar. I mean, I guess that's not a big deal, but he switches it up. So Jeudy switches to the lead here. He's adapting to what Sejun did last time, called Pachirisu. He does basically a counter lead here. He goes for Mega Lucario and Intimidate Salamence into Garchomp Gardevoir here.
Yeah, I love Jeudy's switch up here. We have them.
I like this from Jeudy. What I respect about this is that Jeudy says, I think you're going to do the same thing again. You just won game one. You felt like it was a good lead. I'm going to counter both your leads here. I'm going to put you don't have Intimidate in your team. I'm going to put oh, actually you have Gyarados. Okay. Well, I don't think you've brought Gyarados, is probably what he's saying. I'm going to KO your Gardevoir with my Max Bullet Punch. With my Mega Bullet Punch, excuse me. And with your Garchomp, we know you can't do that much damage to me, so I'm going to go for a Draco Meteor, most likely. And try and KO your Garchomp in one shot.
However, this Lucario can go both ways, it looks like. It does have Lucario Knight. So
he locks in quickly as well. So Lucario Knight activates, he's activating his Mega.
Mega Lucario making its first appearance on the street.
No switch out, so if you're Jeudy, you have to be feeling good. Bullet Punch is going to do a ton of damage to Gardevoir. Jeudy expects it to KO. He goes for Bullet Punch. Like I said earlier, though, Sejun is EV'd for this. He actually hangs on. Jeudy hands on his head. Dazzling Gleam comes out. Tons of damage there. Did 2-hit KOing. Both Pokemon. Well, Mence. And Earthquake comes out, KOing Lucario. So Jeudy loses his Mega turn 1. We also know that this means that he doesn't have Charizard in the back. I respect the play. Again, this is like he just didn't know Sejun was bulky Gardevoir, and honestly, that's a really hard thing to know. And Rock Tomb comes out. That's unfortunate. That is unfortunate. So it wasn't a bad play. Jeudy expected to switch out there, so he went for what he thought was a safe play, and it was a good investment because even if.
I think that was one of Jody's main tricks of this matchup, the ability to.
Oh god, he can just Dazzling Gleam Earthquake again, can't he? Oh my god. Rock Tomb's a good move there because it ensures he can Draco Meteor this turn, but oh god.
Garchomp's still in great position to try to do some damage here. Dragon Claw.
But the thing is, Gardevoir's in sand range, so maybe you protect Salamence? I don't really know. This is a tough position. Salamence is really kind of back against the wall.
Getting one more knockout, even if it's not on Tyranitar, would prevent it from switching moves again.
Salamence goes for Protect. He will Ice Punch the Garchomp most likely. I expect Sejun to Protect here. No, Dazzling Gleam Earthquake. That's right. Dazzling Gleam Earthquake comes out. 178 down to 98. I'm not sure Earthquake will KO. He actually goes for Rock Slide. I'm really surprised by that. He might not have known that Gardevoir was in sand range. He also probably expected Garchomp to switch there. Let's see if he gets the flinch. He goes for Earthquake. I don't think this KOs. It's Intimidated. It's going to be close. I think it will hang on, though, barely. Hangs on barely. So, I'm surprised Jeudy went for a Rock Slide there. I felt like Ice Punch would have been pretty solid. But yeah, Sejun's got to be feeling good at this position. Like, he's really, really in command of this game. He's taken out Mega Lucario. He's put Salamence with a ton of damage, and he's put Tyranitar with a ton of damage. And if he has Talonflame in the back, both these Pokemon are in Brave Bird range, which in this gen has priority. So the question is, who does he go into now? Jeudy expected a Talonflame switch in, because Garchomp really needs to switch out. It's intimidated and its speed is dropped. So I do agree that it really looks like Garchomp needs to switch out, but he could just protect for one turn. If Sejun is the same Pokemon in the back, he's in a bit of a tricky situation because on the one hand, he Follow Me Rock Slide looks really safe. Yeah, he goes Pachirisu. Now this looks familiar to me.
Capable of redirecting any attack from Salamence now that Garchomp's slower thanks to that Rock Tomb.
This looks very familiar to probably many of us. So Sejun has no reason not to Follow Me Rock Slide here. He's in a great position. Tyranitar or Salamence, they both have to take a hit here if they want. He's guaranteed to KO as long as he gets to Rock Slide them both, right? Because not guaranteed. Salamence can get the double protect, but outside of a double protect on Salamence, yeah, Jeudy has to get a Rock Slide flinch here, or else he'll lose the game. Rock Slide comes out. I don't know if Sejun Sandveil. Maybe that's why he did Ice Punch. I don't know. Rock Slide comes out. Actually does a lot of damage. Draco Meteor comes out. Pachirisu redirects the attack. I still think even if Garchomp flinches here, it's not the end of the world. Pachirisu hangs on. Yep. You can actually hear the crowd. That's crazy.
So bulky if that
Talon in the back means, like,
wasn't proof enough.
I don't know. Garchomp could still win this. Let's see what the last Pokemon is. Rock Slide does not flinch, connects on both. Sejun claps his hands, and that should be a double KO. Yep, Salamence hangs on, but the sand will take it out.
But fortunately, we'll have to see, will the sand stick around? Yes.
I like that Evan phrases that as the question. That's really funny. Yeah, and now he's up 3-5 or 3-1, and it's gonna be almost impossible for Jeudy to win this. If the last Pokemon is Rotom, yeah, like, I don't know how you win this, especially because you kind of have to Leaf Storm to KO Pachirisu. Yeah, it's Rotom. I agree with the Pokemon Jeudy brought. I agree with his game plan. Like, it was a solid game plan. He just didn't realize that that Gardevoir was so bulky, and that changed the whole course of this. So I think if you're Sage Jr., you can just switch out your Garchomp and follow me into Talonflame. If you have Gyarados in the back, though, I feel like he would have brought it in earlier, but actually, no, I mean, he's in a good position. Super Vent comes out. Interesting. Alright, he goes for the offensive, and it's, okay, Sejun doesn't switch out because I guess he just wants to, he has a full HP Pokemon in the back. He gets the critical hit, it doesn't matter, like, in the long scheme of things, and he wins the World Championships. And let's watch him celebrate, because it's wholesome. Look at how happy he is. Oh, my heart. He came so close. Oh, Sejun. That's so nice. Look at all these people. There I am. Did you see me? Wow. Oh, he pops off. Oh, he's so happy. Oh, this makes me feel so good. I'm so happy for him. He really deserved it. I feel bad for Jeudy, but look at him. Good sport. Shaking hands, smiling. That's a like, as someone who was lost in the finals, it's a bad feeling. It's a really bad feeling to lose in the finals. So, yeah, hats off to Jeudy. Good sportsmanship. And well played, honestly. Like, I don't know. I think that if Gardevoir had less bulk, and it wasn't a lot of bulk as I recall. I think it was very slight. But it changed the entire outcome of the set. And this is why EVs matter, right? Sejun put a little bit of bulk on his Gardevoir, and it won him Game 1 and Game 2. And the plans that Jeudy made were good plans, but they were predicated on the fact that Sejun was max speed, max special attack. If I had to guess, I'm just making assumptions here, but if I had to guess. Probably he assumed, he was calculating, he was like, it's Scarf Gardevoir, why would you run bulk? He says, okay, my Bullet Punch can KO it, and Stone Edge plus Sand will KO it. And because of the small amount of bulk Sejun hangs on from both, it changes the whole course of the set. So, was Pachirisu impactful? Yeah, it was. It made a big deal. It was a really good Pokemon for what Sejun needed to do. We didn't see Gyarados or Gothitelle in the finals. Like, Pachirisu did great, and the way that Sejun used it, supporting his Garchomp was really smart, and yeah, Nuzzle and Super Fang were really good, and he really showed it off in this finals match. But yeah, there was more at play here than just Pachirisu. The defensive investment on Gardevoir changes the entire outcome of this game. That is crucial, honestly. That is honestly one of the most important things that happens here, and the flinch in Game 1 may have changed things, or the full pair, excuse me, in Game 1 may have changed things, unclear. Yeah, and the way that Sejun and Jeudy danced around Sejun's Garchomp, I thought was really, really interesting. So overall, an amazing set. The Rotom Cut was really good as well. We saw Sejun kind of struggling to bring it down quickly in Game 1, thanks to the defensive synergy of Rotom Cut and Salamence. Like, I honestly feel like Jeudy really did a good job of kind of capitalizing on the weaknesses of Sejun's team, which is that if you intimidate his Garchomp, his offense drops significantly, but yeah, Sejun still managed to play around it and do really well. Like, I really liked what Jeudy was doing with, like, Salamence Rotom Cut to slow down Garchomp, but yeah, okay, and that's where Pachirisu really came in, is that Jeudy needed Salamence and Rotom Cut to hit Garchomp, and Sejun wouldn't let him do that because, thanks to Follow Me of Pachirisu. So, I think that's my analysis. I think that's all I want to say. I'm so happy for Sejun. You couldn't ask for a better guy and a more deserving player, so yeah, that's kind of my take on a little bit of VGC history. I know this match is very famous. I hope you guys enjoyed. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do when I started this video, which is the case of almost all my videos. But yeah, I kind of just, gave some commentary. If you thought this kind of thing was interesting, let me know. I'm happy to do more. Like, it's not me playing, but it's an important bit of our history. So, yeah. I think that's pretty much all I want to say. Again, let me know if you like this. Make sure to leave a like and a comment and a subscriber if you enjoyed, because, yeah, I haven't done one of these before on the channel, or at least not in a long time. Yeah. And I think that's it. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.